explain to me how there are grown-ass men in this world that are giving women the silent treatment?
That's usually because they don't think you're grown enough to handle what they have to say. The moment that you're handed the silent treatment is the moment that you become tolerated. And the reason that they're still around you is that there's interest about you that outdo whatever they're silent to you about. And being tolerated is not the same as being enjoyed. It has never been a compliment to you when he tells you, I'm just going to let you win the argument, or when his homeboys tell him the same way, hey, let her win the argument. That's just another way of them telling you that you're not as good as a listener as you think you are. And by the way, disclaimer, ghosting and silent treatment, two different things usually. I don't want anybody to conflate them because it has you looking for two different answers. Men's silent treatment is usually done in response to something that they cannot surmount. It's like them versus the immovable object. If you're messing with a dude and looking to be seriously and the first thing that comes to your mind is he never opposes me, that's on purpose. He does not think that you're mature enough for him to do so in the first place. You're not really challenging him when he lets you win. And while displaying the silent treatment can be childish depending upon the scenario that you're in, it's often utilized as a response. If you're an irrational person, me saying that probably got under your skin. You live in a world where most men aren't going to be 100 with you because you have something that many of them constantly want but don't have readily available. And this is where I blame society, because many of those first wave of men that y'all meet when y'all start dating spoon feed you a lie about how men's truths are conveyed. It granted many women the inability to handle honest truths about men. Those first wave of men that you run into will feed you a perspective that is either a half truth or a full lie. So many of y'all go off thinking, oh, things work this way in a man's mind if he's serious with me. No, it only works that way in a man's mind that's tolerating you because he's infatuated. If he is giving you the silent treatment, the last thing that you need to do is go poking and prodding for answers. He's gone too deep down the rabbit hole for him to just hand you the answer now. Let him do what he wants so he can show you what he'd rather do. You don't need to hold his hand, but just keep an open mind. Whether the news of how he perceives you be good or bad, either one are going to benefit you. And as I said before, it really be those first wave of men that tell you sweeten up things, never critique you, and then dip without a trace. And because having you outweighed your possible red flags, it was a win. Many people go off thinking, well, if they accepted me, the next person will be more than willing to. I cannot be the problem. As time gradually progresses, a man's ability to tolerate you can slowly turn into resentment, which is why you end up finding out how he truly feels about you 8 months later or at the conclusion of your relationship. And because you weren't accustomed to hearing that, it feels like shock and dismay. Now, if that relationship was built off of 100% transparently, it would have ended abundantly earlier. The truth is, for many men, your perks as a woman sound a lot better than your red flag. And if it's often a man who can't foreshadow his success with a woman, they have a higher inclination of doing this. There's a reason why so many of those men can be honest with their friends of benefits. It's not even just the aspect of no strings attached alone. It's a combination of knowing that the basis of that relationship was built off the fullest extent of honesty. They want the ability to tell you everything that they feel without any erratic ramifications, any outrage. They want to be able to have peace while also being able to have a peaceful outcome with telling you the truth. Because even many friends of benefits can't be receptive, but they're often put in a place where they have to be. As the pursuer, they got to know what makes you tick, they got to know your social cues, and they got to know just all around how you're going to respond to things. I know many of y'all are going to tell him, no, you can tell me the truth, but he already knows earlier on what you don't favor. Because due to the circumstances that they're in, they have an obligation to know. But if you've never pursued a man, and you've always been in the position of being the one that got pursued, you can say anything to those guys and they'll let 80% of that slide. So to them, you often didn't have to be that careful with what you said because right now, this is as good as it gets. This is why he's magically mean to you months later or after the breakup, because he's no longer being held hostage by the novelty or mystery of you anymore. Most of them are too much in fear of losing the option in front of them that they're never going to display a perceived red flag that they have of you, let alone specify it. Lacking receptiveness about oneself is just as bad as lacking transparency, but hey, I'm just the messenger.